I would say my energy is, when you talk about extroversion, introversion, I am definitely an extrovert. I get energy from being with people, from right now, nature around me, the spring, and I also do need large periods of time where I can go into my inner landscape and reflect. But primarily extrovert, which also has led to some level of excessive curiosity and restlessness. Well, I started life as a physical therapist, mainly because when I was young, very few women became doctors or dentists. So physical therapy was one of the bars, or one of the things available to us. The other reason was that I was restless, and I could not imagine 7 years at university. And I wanted an international degree so that I could travel. So I chose physical therapy, not so much for the work itself as for what it allowed me to do, and that worked brilliantly. I went to California when I was a physical therapist. I got licensed in California and was a leader there. And by the time I was 29, it was obvious that the system of physician control over here was much stricter than in Denmark. And I was going crazy with physicians at 29. And I thought, what would it be like when I'm 39? And so I began to think I wanted a different career, and made a really bad goal as such. I just said, I want to be in a new career, in a new field by the time I'm 32 or whatever. And I ended up in business, product management, manufacturing, strategy, a lot of marketing work. And that became my field for about 8-9 years. And then one of my clients, I was a consultant towards the end, I had a philosophy in communications or branding or whatever you would say, that you cannot market something you are not. So I would say to my clients, either we take what you are and we make it sexy, or so that's option one. And the other option is that you have to change your organization so you actually are what you would like to say. And everybody just said, no, we'll take what we are and make it sexy. And except one client who said, well, change us. I'm like, well, I don't do that. I don't know how to change things, right? And so that led me into organizational development, because he was sort of pushy. And at that time, I found the book 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. It was brand new then. It was very interesting. I thought, wow, if every associate in his organization might just do some of this, I think he could do it. And so that's how I ended up coming into this field. So it was just whatever looked most interesting, challenging, opportunities kind of tossed my way at different times. So no career path, just career bumbling. Well, I think I was definitely driven to travel. I was definitely driven to try new things. And so I lived in England from when I was 19 to 21. I went back, I studied physical therapy. I went to California, then later Boston, and I've been in New York for well over 20 years now. And so the restlessness shows up in some elements of that. I do love New York because it's a very high energy city. Not right now with COVID, but generally it's a very high energy city, and I enjoyed that. I think what drove me more was I always felt I was meant to do something, and I couldn't quite find my work. As I said, physical therapy was not like a deep purpose-driven decision. It was a different decision. And so I became a physical therapist. I liked it a lot. It was good work. But when I decided to leave, I remember saying to a friend, but it's just not meaningful to me. And she said, Mette, you make lame people walk. Like, how much more meaning do you need your work to have? And I'm like, yeah, I know, I do, but it's good work. And I remember saying to her, it's good work, it's just not my work. And then I bumbled into business, And business was cool. It was creative. You got bigger budgets. You traveled. You went to big trade shows, and it was like just a whole different world. I got a huge budget to produce videos, and it was fun to have resources. But that also was not my work. But when I came into organizational development, this is when I landed. This is my work. And so it was just because it was dealing with the human potential, but not just physically, but also emotionally and mentally. And so things began to really come together at that time. And I've absolutely loved this field of helping organizations become their best and helping people become their best. My greatest achievement is being married to a Spaniard for the last 33 years. and I'll tell you, I mean, just on a couple of parameters. Number one, he's so left-brained, it isn't even funny. And so he's got like 3 degrees and all in the sciences. The other thing is there's a huge difference between Anglo-American cultures and Latino cultures. And so that, you know, Danes are much more like the British and the Americans than we're like Latinos. And so having a family in Spain was a challenge. But the biggest challenge actually was that I'm from a very small town of 900 and he's from Madrid. And so the difference between being a city boy and a country girl, we would walk on the streets when we came to New York in 1991. New York was very dangerous back then. This was like the peak of the murder rate. And he would look at me and he says, don't give eye contact. Don't smile at people. And I'd be like, what? And he was like, no, they'll think you're provoking them. And I'm like, you know. So he came in with just a very different psychology than growing up in a community where everybody knew each other. And I had sort of just moved forward with that orientation. It had worked in California and Boston, but all of a sudden New York in 91 was a dangerous city. And it was good advice, but we ran into many of those. One little thing about coming to New York too, I remember we come out, and I just love nature, and in Cambridge, Massachusetts, you know, walking along the river and the flowers, and we come out at 6th Avenue in New York, and it's just this canyon, and he says, you know, so what do you think? And I look at him and I say, I can't see the horizon. And he said, yeah, isn't it great? You know? So just very different backgrounds. But 33 years later, boy, I'm glad it's him I'm with during this whole COVID time. We're home together. I have had the privilege to work with quite a few leaders who are absolutely extraordinary. One of them is my co-author on Touch Points. He's a huge introvert, and it really took quite a lot of work for him to become a great leader. I have a number of women I work with that are just extraordinary. I would say what makes them so good in my book is that they deliver results. I mean, there can never be any argument. I don't care how many humanistic words we throw around. Your job as a leader is to deliver results and make the organization perform. And that the people I respect really do. But the other thing they do is they invest in the people and their teams. They constantly build capabilities in the people around them. And so one woman I just absolutely adore, Renee Zaug, she's head of IT. Now I don't even remember. I mean, she ran a team of about 3,000 IT people. Then there was a merger, then something else happened. She became VP of the whole thing. And so she was like, stepped into a new role, and her job was within the first 3 weeks, cut the budget by $20 million. So you know how big the budget is if that was the cut she had to deliver. But during all the turmoil she went through with her first company, and then that company was a $60 billion company that was acquired by a $120 billion company, and she became VP of all infrastructure technology. During all that noise and being acquired, her focus was on equipping her team so they could get a job where they fired. Yeah, and that to me is to find such resourcefulness that even when you don't know if you have a job, you make sure you people feel secure because you help them prepare if they have to go out on a job market. So she, for example, worked with many of them to develop what she called bragalogs, and that humbles me. I mean, that just absolutely blows my mind. And she is a performer. She absolutely rocks. She's firm, but you wouldn't know it unless you really get down to the performance numbers that week. She's very warm and inviting. Get out of the way. Yeah, the issue with the empowerment is that empowerment is really about drawing on the power, life force, energy, creativity, capabilities within you. A leader cannot empower you. A leader can create the conditions where you are able to contribute the creativity, the resourcefulness, the tenacity, all the things you have in you. Most people are underutilized, and therefore they can't tap into their own power. But a leader, I really do believe very strongly that it's wrong to think a leader empowers people, because if they empower, they can also take your power away. So it's just a very sort of a deeply held mindset I have on this. So you can empower yourself, and in your careers, the key is to seek out leaders who will make it possible to tap into as much as you can of your personal best, of your team's best, because it's not just about you once you are in the workplace, it's about your team, it's about your function or your operating unit, and you constantly want to bring that to the level where everyone can be their best and deliver results. And so that's how I think of empowerment.